College football playoff week is here. The best thing about the 12-team playoff home games, and we have 4 of them. And why are so many people in the sport acting up, and are we going to be able to put anybody in timeout? This is the College Game Day podcast. We're recording a few days before the start of the playoff. Rece Davis, Pete Thamel, and Dan Wetzel. I will not bore people with my travel travails over the last few days, but if you're traveling during this Christmas season, Godspeed to you. Best of luck. It's a really good idea to drive instead of fly. But aside from that, fired up about the games. But, we haven't talked, guys, among the 3 of us since the unwinding of the problems at Michigan with Sherrone Moore being fired for cause and all of the allegations surrounding that. It's a stunning turn of events, I think, even though in many quarters, this was not a terribly well-kept secret, but it seemed to be a personal issue that you did not know whether it would permeate into the program and all of these types of things. So, Pete, as it stands right now, and both of you guys have done a wonderful job covering this, where do we stand with Michigan right now and how they're going to try to extricate themselves as best they can and move forward?
Well, Michigan right now, Rece, is in the throes of a coaching search. One of the most compelling coaching searches I think I've covered in my whole career. They are a program that hit an apex in 2023, and in trying to recreate that, we're decent but not great. Sherrone Moore was never able to resuscitate Michigan to those highs, and really Michigan hadn't been at those highs in a generation. And then, obviously, the fall of Sherrone Moore was swift, sudden, and just generally shocking in the way it unfolded. And here's Michigan, this proud program that's kind of refound itself, throughout the 3 straight Big Ten titles under Harbaugh, trying to hit reset and revive, that caliber of success. They're doing it essentially at the very tail end of what will be remembered as the busiest coaching carousel in modern college football, and they're not in a particular hurry, I would say. We're sitting here on Tuesday morning. They are set to begin Zoom calls, just introductory, like her first interviews with candidates this week. I'd expect 5 or 6 of those. I would not expect anything by the end of the week for certain, which obviously leads to, some compelling drama if Alabama does end up losing its game on Friday night. Kalen DeBoer has, both in a statement and behind a microphone, pledged his fidelity to Alabama. I would be curious how convinced you guys were of those of those pledges. And from there, we have what we would call like the list for Penn State, right? Like very good coaches who have had a lot of success. Your Jeff Brahms, Eli Drinkwitz, Jed Fish, Kenny Dillingham, that caliber of list. I'm forgetting one. And what you were, Clark Lee, and that's not a definitive list, but it's that category of coaches, very good coaches. Honestly, you could make a good argument for all of them. I think they are a bit of a muddled group right now in the eyes of Michigan. And we'll probably a week from today have a new coach at Michigan.
I mean, the big drama is DeBoer, right? Obviously, we've had statements. We had a yes, I'll coach Alabama next year. I recall Nick Saban saying, I will not be the coach at the Alabama once. So I'm not saying anybody isn't being honest. I like to wait to see at the end whether all of the statements and stuff come out true or not. I do believe Kalen DeBoer is focused on trying to win the game, which if he beats Oklahoma makes it almost impossible for him to end up being at Michigan's coach. He would then coach New Year's Day. I don't think the Wolverines would wait that long. It just would be too much. So I don't know. And I don't know that he'll even talk to them even if he loses. But if he loses, it may change the mood of whether you want to be in Alabama too. That would be another, you would be going 2 straight years without a playoff victory, get in a 4th loss for the 2nd straight time. So Kalen DeBoer drama adds to it. I think Pete's list is accurate, and we'll see if anybody kind of overwhelms the search process with their personality and with their plan. I think a lot of coaches can win at Michigan. I think any of those guys would either be would likely be successful. I think that in this era of the sport, where Michigan has kind of gone from being a very good program to one that can compete and actually win national titles, the amount of money, the resources, the commitment, and all those things at Michigan that are now allowed um, through NIL and through revenue share changes that game. And I think, almost any of those guys could go there and be very, very successful. And I think that's why you have a lot of guys willing to talk to them.
I don't think it's going to be DeBoer.
Okay.
And I don't think he's going to talk to them. And I'm going to tell you why. It is my understanding that when Kalen DeBoer went to Alabama, that he was fully aware that the Michigan job was going to open. It did, in fact, open the time he didn't line up. And now, it is also accurate to say he would have had to say no to Alabama without the absolute guarantee that the Michigan job was going to open or that it would be his, though I believe that it would have been his had he waited for it. And perhaps in a vacuum, both jobs opened at the same time, given his disposition at that time. And maybe even, if he were still at Washington and he were making that choice now, maybe he would choose Michigan. But I think one of the big reasons Kalen DeBoer took on the challenge of following Nick Saban, at least to some degree, is because of his hyper-competitiveness that people underestimate and the fact that he got so many warnings. Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you can follow Nick Saban? Do you realize the pressure? Do you realize how mad the fans are going to get if you don't go 14-0 or 15-0, whatever it takes now to win the game? Are you sure you can handle that? Oh, you've never been in the South. Could you do that? I don't know if you could do that. I think it's stuck in his craw. And if he left now, even if they lost to Oklahoma, because they're not firing him, nobody in that administration wants him there. They want him there and they want to pay him to keep him. If he goes now, it looks like they were right. And you know what? They will be. If he leaves for Michigan, Michigan is an unbelievable job. I'm not saying that. The resources, the billionaire in the NIL for as long as you can use that, all that stuff, fantastic. You can even make the argument that in some quarters, and this infuriates Big Ten fans, but until you get a little bit more of a few more programs into the upper echelon of the league, it's easier to make the playoff. Just is,
That's fair.
And now the teams
Absolutely.
at the top of the Big Ten have been better than the teams at the top of the SEC. The elite teams the last 2 or 3 years have been better than the top. But the middle's not, and it's not nearly as deep. You can say what you want. It's not the same thing. But the top has been better. So, in that regard, at this point in time, that may not be true 2 years from now, but right now it's true. It's easier to get through and get to the playoff there. It's Michigan, the winningest program in the history of the sport. Everybody understands the allure. Alabama's got some allure too, but I believe this will be more personal. I believe he won't do it because it will be perceived as backing down. And for as nice a guy as Kalen DeBoer is, he does not like to back down. And I don't think he will. Like I said, maybe after 5 years, maybe if this had come up, at the same time 2 years ago, or both jobs were available to him from Washington at the same time, maybe he chooses Michigan. I think at one point, some close to him had said this was a dream job type thing for him, Michigan, probably not thinking of Alabama at that time, or maybe just Michigan is the dream job. But I believe the perception of him backing away from the challenge will keep him at Alabama as much as anything. Now, look, I may be proven wrong, but I believe that will carry the day. And, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. It's okay. And I don't have a problem with whatever he does. That's a pretty good choice to have as a coach. And it shows what type of coach he is, which is a terrific one. Your two choices are, I can stay at Alabama or I can go to Michigan. But I don't think he's going to put himself in position to do that, largely because I don't think he wants to be perceived as backing away from the challenge of following Saban. And I don't know. Any merit to that, Pete, or you have insight that would change things to it?
Let's talk about this for a second, because you brought up something interesting. What's a better job?
Depends on what, it's like everything else. It depends on what you want. If you If it is all about getting to the playoff right now, because prestige-wise, they're equal. Both have unbelievable prestige and cachet in the history of college football. So they're equal. Depends on what you want. I mean, if you want that all-encompassing, every second of every day is about the program and hostile environments time after time after time, it's Alabama. But if you want something a little different, where you can still win championships, where you can still have a lot of that pressure and a lot of the intense scrutiny, which probably Rich Rodriguez would say there's some pretty intense daily scrutiny that goes on at Michigan as well. But I do think it's a little bit different at Michigan than it is at Alabama in terms of that. If you want that, you can do it. You can win championships both places. That's been proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I think one of the things about, people say, well, nobody's won at Alabama, except Saban and Bryant. Even the bad coaches won 10 games. If you want to say bad coaches, Mike Shula won 10 games. Dennis Franchione won 10 games. Mike DeBoer won the freaking SEC and beat Steve Spurrier twice. You're going to win there, and you're going to win at Michigan. So I think it just sort of depends on what you want from a lifestyle, environment, constant scrutiny versus almost constant scrutiny, that you get at Michigan. You might get it, Dan, you would know better than I. You might get a little off-season reprieve if you had a decent season at Michigan that might not come at Alabama because of, whether it's pro sports or, whatever it might be, dispersion of alumni, whatever it is. But it feels a little different to me at Michigan, and I've lived both places. Obviously, I've lived in Michigan, I've lived in Alabama. So
Gene Stallings did win. I'll save you the comment.
And Gene Stallings won a national championship too.
Shout out Coach Stallings. Always so regal in that. I remember watching that when I was young, being like, "Now that's a regal."
But see,
man.
I said the bad coaches. Gene Stallings was a great coach.
Yeah. No, I don't want. I don't want this comment section going off the rails as everybody starts killing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Hey,
I'm just trying to help you.
Let me stipulate too. The guys I said, they weren't bad coaches. You're not bad coaches. Relatively speaking, comparatively speaking to the great ones they've had, the guys who weren't quite as good.
Who was the flop from Op? Wasn't there? Which one was that?
That was Mike DeBoer. He was Mike DeBoer won the SEC and beat Spurrier twice in the same year, including in the Swamp.
Great nickname, though.
Didn't he have an indiscretion?
He had an indiscretion.
And there was Mike
Which
Price.
The stories they just changed the characters.
Yeah,
that's right. What I mean?
He had an indiscretion peak, and the thing is, it came right after. I could be wrong about this. It feels like either he won the SEC right after the indiscretion, and then the next year, bad season. So then the indiscretion was worse. Again, that kind of thing.
I was doing an interview. This is a quick side, and I'll answer your question, Rece. And someone was like, "How shocked were you about this turn of events that Sherrone Moore lost his job?" I'm like, "We have like 3 of these a year." It wasn't a shock until he went to the staffer's house. Now that was a new twist.
Yes.
But this is fairly cliche now. This is college football. I can't keep track of my Alabama guys, let alone any other school. So no, I think Rece's point is ideal. What do you want? So if you can't go wrong, right? It's like, here you go. You want the Lamborghini or do you want the Ferrari? I mean, they're both fantastic. They're both everything you want. You can win it all. Is it a different mindset at each place? Absolutely, though. I've said this. I said this a couple weeks ago. I think we were talking before what is everyone talking about in Michigan? I live in Michigan. They're talking about the Detroit Lions, at least the people around me. Like, you do not have a fishbowl. Now, all right, was everyone talking about Sherrone Moore? Yeah, because that was a thing. It matters. Michigan matters. And it matters a great deal to probably the same number of their hardcore fans. But that does not permeate out into every facet of every person in the state the way college football does in the state of Alabama. It's just different. You have 4 pro sports teams. You have Michigan State, which has not as many fans, but has at least as many alums in the state, if not more alums in the state. So it's not, and in the city of Detroit, there's Ohio State people, there's Notre Dame people, there's also Purdue, there's, it's just a different type of thing. So that does that help you? Do you want that? I think you go to Michigan and you can go 10-2, 9-3, make the playoff pretty much every single year, and you're going to be there a long time. There is not the expectation of where's our national title. They've won 2 since the 60s, right? And one was a shared title. Bo Schembechler never won it all. You got to beat Ohio State every once in a while. Split 1 out of 3 years. I don't know. Somewhere in there, they're going to be pretty happy with you. This is the culture of college football in Michigan is not the same as the SEC states. Through all of this, we have not heard from the governor of Michigan, right? No one's asked Gretchen Whitmer. Are you in on the search, right?
She doesn't call into Feinbaum? Who's the Feinbaum of
she is
Michigan?
not called into the Feinbaum, the Mike Valente show or whatever, Carson Anderson on 97.1 and said, let me just tell you how we're going to do this. That would be absurd. Absurd behavior in Michigan.
Pop up on McAfee.
And I don't think it is in Ohio either. I don't know Mike DeWine getting involved. It's just different, okay? So that part...
I can see it there. I can see it in Ohio. It might happen.
Mike DeWine's a very... I know that guy. He's very calm. But maybe the next guy. Maybe someone else. But do you want that or do you not? And I'm not saying, it sounds like I'm saying, well, you don't want that kind of crazy. Maybe you do. Right? Like maybe that's what you really want is like this state is all in. Like the governor is not running the state right now. He's running a coaching search. Right. Then I get that's not at Alabama. That was at LSU. But this would be a thing. So it's just different. And there's a lot of possibilities. And then I just think going forward, like, how much does money matter in this sport? Alabama, for all of its institutional commitment to football, which is as great as any place you could possibly be and all the want, does not have the wealth of the state of Michigan. And it doesn't have the alumni wealth of the state of Michigan, aside from the fact you have numerous billionaires and the second richest person on earth, Larry Ellison's wife, being not just a fan, but like involved in the recruitment of Bryce Underwood, right? Like, so you do get that level, but that's better than a governor because they can back stuff up. So I think, there's less expectation, but still that same upside. Is that what he wants? I don't know. Like maybe he's sitting there going, man, I'm getting heat. Look, if he loses Friday night, that's 4 losses and 4 losses back to back. He's not on the hot seat. Yes, the administration at Alabama likes him and all that, but how long can you go doing that? You sit there and say, hey, I reset the clock. I go up here. It's a lot easier. Michigan should go 10-2 every single year. Sherrone Moore, we now know was not, let's say, wholly focused on the Wolverine football program this fall. They still went 9-3. This wasn't even a good team. And this guy was, Lord knows what he was doing rather than actually scheming up plays. They still went 9-3. There is a floor at Michigan that is pretty high, and that's got to have some appeal too. So I don't know what Kalen DeBoer wants. I don't know that he's already made that decision. I don't know what these other guys want, but that's how I kind of look at that Michigan job. For the right temperament, this is perfect.
So I'll be curious. Rece said something really interesting. He said, in a vacuum, given the two as options, it's likely Kalen DeBoer would take Michigan. Is that essentially, I'm paraphrasing you, Rece.
I say it's possible.
Possible.
Just based on previous comments. I don't know for sure what he would have done.
And I don't know for sure either. Yeah. But that would be my inclination too. Again, I don't know Kalen DeBoer particularly well, but I've been around him now a bunch of years, sat in his office, spoken to him. Where does he fit better? Right? Does he fit better in the deep fryer pressure cooker of why didn't you offer the 3 technique from Opelika? Or does he fit better in the I'm going to go, kind of quietly? Like he's an unassuming guy. Would you agree with that, Rece?
Yes.
Like he's not a guy who wants attention. He's kind of the Midwest, right?
Yes.
He's not he's not one of these like SEC super preacher coaches, who's always on. From a pure fit of region, program, vibe, dynamics, I would think in a vacuum, as Rece said, and it was a really good way to say it, it's a better fit at Michigan. But here's the challenge here, which would be interesting if they lose. Moving one of these coaches is like opening closing like a mid-sized power plant in a small American city, right? They've got 50, 60 employees, right? When you go down to the nutritionists and the psychologists and the strength coaches, 8 or 9 of them,
200
assistant coaches. Yeah, no, it's just
football
it is like a
offices,
massive amount of humans that go on that ripple. These moves are complicated. This isn't like pushpin. Oh, let's take that job. Boop, put it in. So there is a weight to that type of decision, to have to do it, which would be in a shotgun manner, right? They're not going to give him a week, and it's one of the more compelling like game result ifs that I've ever been around, right? Like it's like the theater is pretty absurd for going into Friday, and this is all just assuming there's still a little inclination, after parsing the statements. Would you agree with my personality assessment there, Rece?
Yes. Yeah, personality-wise, 100%. I agree with you. I do think he's got a little more crap in his neck, if you will, than he is often willing to show publicly. And
That's fair.
It's one of the reasons I think that he won't, even if maybe somewhere inside him he agrees with that assessment with the fit. I just don't think he'll do it right now, simply because of the other things. And I do think that not with the fringe, which nobody's got the market cornered on the fringe loud element. But I do believe among the vast majority of even rabid Alabama fans, they're pretty in tune with the fact that the sport has changed. I mean, Indiana's number 1 in the country. Vanderbilt is a little bummed that they didn't make the playoff. Things have changed, and I don't think that's lost on Alabama people. And not that it has lowered expectations, but I do believe that the old feeling of, oh, wow, 4 losses. Well, they were in the SEC championship game. They're in the playoff. There might be some disappointment at the way they play, at a 3rd loss to Oklahoma in a calendar year. I'm not going to discount that, of course. There are going to be some upset people. Why wasn't the offensive line better? How come the quarterback play regressed? All of that stuff that for sure is going to come up if they lose. But I don't think it's to the point to where they're ready to run the guy out of town, except the French who have forgotten that Nick and Bear Bryant weren't 1 million and 0. The French over there thinks that never ever happened, but it did. It happened to both of them. They lost games they had hoped to win. Oh, they hoped to win all of them, but maybe should have won, were favored to win. All that's happened to every coach forever. I don't think the fact for the overwhelming, and I'm not even talking about administration. I'm talking about the lawyers in Mobile and Birmingham, the guys who work in the Mercedes plant in Vance. For the most part, they understand. They get it. They know that things have changed. You're not going to win every game. And I think for the most part, they believe they've got a great coach, because you also, anytime that even the fringe starts yelling about changing a coach, whether it's at Alabama or anywhere else, who are you going to get? Who are you going to get?
Let's play that game at Alabama. I think that's an interesting game. Like we're 2 hypotheticals down the road here.
Yeah.
But boy, that's an interesting one.
Well, I know who everybody in the world knows who they'd go after, but the same as DeBoer has shown no inclination to leave this quickly. Neither has the top target for every school, every major job in the SEC, short of those who wanted Lane Kiffin. Everybody's going to try to pry Dan Lanning out of Oregon. He's shown zero inclination to go anywhere. So beyond that, what in the world would you do? I mean, he's not going anywhere.
I think you microwaved the list I just gave 8 minutes ago, right? I don't know what I like. I haven't thought of like some NFL guy, like I just think you find a very good coach. Jeff Brom's a very good coach. Eli Drink is a very good coach. Kenny Dillingham, like you put one of those, Clark Lee, I don't want to leave anybody out here. You put one of those very good coaches in position to go try to harness the potential of that program.
Yeah. Now you're the guy not following Saban. You're the guy following the guy who followed Saban and left. I don't know. It's interesting. I certainly think Kalen DeBoer, look, he's got a great recruiting class coming in. There are not big expectations on transfer portal. He's got a great situation. And so I could totally see him just staying put. But I don't know. There's that personality. I think, you said something about it, how he's a little more quiet. Like, if you're the Michigan football coach, you can go out to dinner with your wife. You can go to Detroit and go out to dinner, and many people won't recognize you. Or if they do, it's like, oh, that's the Michigan football coach. You're not. It's not. All of a sudden, there's a line forms with guys holding their footballs to sign, and whatever goes.
My grandpa spread his ashes.
Right. You can have a little bit of a life on that element. You're next to a big city and those things, so maybe that plays a role. But yeah. I mean, look, if we're going to recklessly go down multiple levels of hypothetical, which I think I think
you've made us more reckless on this podcast, Dan.
I have
it.
Guardrails. I mean, you sit there and go, I mean, look, Clark Lee, Elijah. Oh, we are really happy at Missouri. I mean, hey, this is Alabama now, right? I mean, Kenny Dillingham's all of a sudden seems like he's, I truly believe, right? Kenny Dillingham's dream is to activate the Valley and lead Arizona State to the glory that we've all seen it going. And he was 100% committed, and he didn't get in on any of these other jobs, right? Yeah. Florida, nope.
That's true.
LSU, nope.
That's true.
Penn State, Michigan. I mean, everyone's got their spot, and that's just because at some point you have to be like, look, do your thing. And I think that's the power of Michigan and Alabama and a couple places, Ohio State certainly, and Texas. We're all of a sudden the plan of like, look, I'm what is he, 35? 35, I got my kids, everything's great. I got my family here. This is well, okay, maybe I'm not going to just summarily dismiss this one. And sometimes it's hard for everyone to kind of, because you go, well, what's the difference between Penn State and Michigan? Well, that's the difference. Right. That's the little bit of a difference. They see it, whatever it is. Maybe you're not complaining about airport size when you're flying into, right? That was James Franklin, just need that airport.
It's runway length. Runway length.
We need a longer runway.
Had to go to Harrisburg.
Right. Well, we got runways.
Harrisburg,
we got
runways.
Right? I don't know. Yeah. It's going to be very, very interesting. You also have this weird dynamic of like, so Michigan fan, you're like, okay, I'm going to tune in Friday. If I'm a Michigan fan, I'm tuning in Friday to see this Kalen DeBoer guy. Could be our next coach, but I want to see him lose. But I want to see him play well. Like, what a weird dynamic. I hope he loses. Yeah. Why? That's the new guy? Like, what? You can't beat Oklahoma. Neither could Sherrone Moore. Sherrone Moore didn't even try to beat Oklahoma. Did you remember go to those play calls? Sherrone Moore at Oklahoma. Who was he texting during that game? That's what I want to know. He clearly wasn't trying to win the game. Man, imagine him back in Norman. Back in Norman, he must have been like, Coach, why do you have your phone out? The headset
when you've done this for 30 years, as I have, there are multiple, in 30 years at ESPN, longer than that and all. I've been wrong multiple times. It happens. And especially when you're going to make definitive statements based in judgment rather than evaluation of what just happened. Kalen DeBoer will not coach Michigan next year.
All right, let's go. Right. Put it down.
Okay.
Boom.
Now, right. clip it off, DJ, and they'll run it. They'll run it back forever.
No. DJ doesn't have to clip it. The internet will clip it, Rece.
Yeah, the internet will clip it. Yeah, go ahead. I'm taking him at his word, and with also with the gut feel of what I said. I think the biggest factor is he doesn't. I think just him. It's not the outside. He could care less of what Rece Davis, Pete Thamel, Dan Wetzel, Paul Feinbaum. He'd care less about what we'd say about that. I think inside he doesn't want to run from it. All right. And I think even if you could say, look, if you were his closest advisor, you're not running from it. You're running to something else that fits better. Even if you say that, I think inside for him. And look, this is a guess. Now, it may be that it goes the other way. And he and I talk later, and he goes, look, let me tell you something. You didn't know this was happening, and this is, X, Y, and Z. And okay, that's fine. But I don't think so. I think he stays there. Michigan has to look elsewhere. Michigan will come up with a great coach. Kenny Dillingham is interesting because of this. If you don't have a dog in the hunt and you just want Michigan to have a good coach and you want them to be good because it's good for football and everything like that, which is where the three of us are, I think there's a real appeal to what Dan said earlier. The fans want to believe, and they've had to suspend some disbelief over the last several years, maybe of all time, but particularly the last several years. They want to believe that the coach and the players love the team, love the school, love everything about the tradition the way they do. And that it feels, I know it's worse for the players and coaches when they lose or win, or especially when they lose than it is for the fans. But the fans want to feel as if it's the same, as if they have to deal with it every waking moment with the fan of the other team and all of that stuff. Arizona State has that. Kenny Dillingham is that. He cares as much as they do because it's his place, his school, activate the valley, the whole thing. Dan, I agree with you. I think Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, a couple of others are different in the cachet, and I understand the appeal. But, boy, there's a part of me. I want what's best for Kenny. I think a lot of Kenny. Whatever he wants to do, it's his career. People fire you when you lose. I never begrudge a coach leaving. I won't begrudge Kalen DeBoer if he leaves or Kenny Dillingham if he leaves, whatever. You got to pursue your career, do what you think's best. But, man, the fan of the sport in me wants him to stay and wants him to continue to exhibit that same love that all the Arizona State fans have for it, and that they feel the same way, that it is his school. I think there's still something cool about that. We don't have a lot of that in the sport right now. And I want what's best for him, and whatever he decides, I will not be critical of a career decision. You decide what you're going to do. Go ahead.
I think Kenny cares more than the fans.
He does.
Yeah. He's the one going, you guys care. Please care. Care as much as I do. That's what he's been yelling, right?
Right.
Like Kenny Dillingham,
that's true.
It's a fantastic place for him. And if that's what he stays, wherever these guys go, they go. We'll see. But that's, I think his story as we're writers and stuff, like his story at Arizona State is really fun. It's really interesting.
I'm a softie. Yeah. I always feel awful. I always feel awful for the guys who get fired by the alma mater. Like I felt terrible for Scott Frost. I felt, even way back, dating myself here. You guys remember Ray Goff? All-time good guy. Loved Georgia football. Ray Goff got fired, but I always felt bad about that because that does something to the relationship. And I think if you also choose to leave, it does something to the relationship. I always feel bad about that for them. Maybe guys don't care. I always felt bad for them.
Can I put a bow on this and make a little bit of a melancholy point to double on your melancholy point? I think that for Arizona State, that level, the difference between Arizona State and Michigan and Alabama and whatever has always been pronounced, right? Let's not kid ourselves. It's always been pronounced. Yeah. I don't think it's ever been more pronounced than it is right now. Look, Kenny Dillingham went and took a backup quarterback from Michigan State and turned him into a first-round pick playoff contender, right? Like
he's leaving him.
Sam Leavitt. Dan, did you know who Sam Leavitt was when he was at Michigan State?
I barely know any of the current players in there. No,
that's fine. So this is my point.
I think I actually did. He did play. Yeah, he was a starter there for a little while.
He started one game. But the point is, like, there's a lot of dudes who are like 3-4-star players who start one game at some school, right? And are like redshirt, freshman, whatever. So Kenny Dillingham went, found the guy, worked with him, turned him into a star, and helped him, right? Sam Leavitt had a lot to do with this. Sam Leavitt's a talented guy. So I'm not just saying this is like Kenny's like some magic puppeteer, but you find your guy that in past generations of college football, you'd walk in lockstep with, and he'd come back for the Hall of Fame in 20 years, And that guy just says, you know what? I'm going to go get paid. And that's not a criticism of Sam Leavitt by any means at all, but it's just sort of like the modern reality is that you can find best quarterback since Jake Plummer, right? Like, I mean, you can find your once a generation guy, and he can soon become LSU or Oregon's just the next in the assembly line guy. And I've not talked to anybody about Arizona State about this, but that reality that looms large, man. Like, we could do it all right and still just have somebody come in, money whip our guy, pull him out, and send him on his way. That's hard. You know what I mean? Like, that is why someone would make the unsentimental choice of leaving their alma mater. Because it's just that the level difference, and you could it's just to pick on Arizona State, right? You could pick a Big 12 program, you could pick an ACC program, and it's very similar.
I don't, and yeah, to be clear, you might also be staying a step ahead of the curve. If in fact this is over the next few years, and Kenny's a really young guy, over the next several years, if this gets more and more pronounced, which it appears that it's going to in one fashion or another,
sure,
then it's moving up from a, boy, this is going to get me in trouble, but the perception is that it's moving up from a big AAA job into the big leagues. And, maybe that's not true for every Big Ten and every SEC school, but it might be true for Michigan.
Well, they might have double the budget, Rece. I don't think it's like
I'm sure they do.
I don't think it's like a terse analogy.
Yeah, I'm not trying to bash Arizona State or saying it's a no-brainer. Like I would like for him to stay. If he goes, I think that'd be a great hire for Michigan. And for anybody else for that matter. I think he's a sensational young coach. And it'd be great for Arizona State if he stays. So
I would imagine that they could come up with the money to match something on Levitt. I don't know that he's certainly leaving just for money. He also could just be leaving because he wants to play in the Big Ten or SEC. Like that's his
could be.
We don't know quite what that deal is, but certainly overall, Pete's absolutely right. I mean, you sit there and go, look, if I go to Michigan, I find Sam Levitt, he's not leaving. We don't get beat. Those guys don't go. Although who knows, man? People move around. You have to be prepared. And this is why I think Kenny Dillingham is a really interesting candidate. You have to be ready for this. Everything's 1 year. You got this is you're coaching 7-on-7, or you're coaching AAU basketball, or you're coaching travel sports. Everything's 1 year. You may have them, you may not. You better make the most of it. And you see, Indiana, Mendoza wins the Heisman trophies there 1 year. It's just guys are in and out. It's you have to be prepared for that level of the sport. And I think Kenny Dillingham as uniquely is. I think all the guys we mentioned are, and those are the guys that will succeed on it. But look, I think a lot of them are, there's like this bit about LSU where they're all sitting there saying, hey, look, man, even Les Miles won a title, Orgeron, and I think in pure coaching things, they don't necessarily look at him and go, well, those guys were the best tactical coaches. If they can win a national title, I can win a national title. I think there's a lot of people saying, if Sherrone Moore can act the way he's been acting and win 9 games, what can I do? And I think that's that's going to be a big part of it, and Sherrone's been all the different things he had. I mean, the guy got suspended for deleting text messages with Connor Stallions. I bet he deleted a lot of text messages. I think this guy could be like NCAA career text message deleter, right? We got we're getting in that. We keep stats on that, Pete.
Well, I have to ask Marissa.
Marissa, I'm not sure. Marissa has access to all. Marissa Dowling, our great researcher, has access to unbelievable data. Whether she can count Sherrone's text messages, I wouldn't put it past her, but I'm not sure she has immediate access to that in the database. I'm going to offer one public service announcement here to coaches who become, or people, all of us, particularly men, who become intoxicated with their position, their power, who become mesmerized by the attentions or the affections of someone romantically. If you are married, just go home. Just go home. My great friend Rod Gilmore and I, we've talked about this Rod and I have been friends for almost 30 years now, since we worked together early in my days at ESPN. And this has been, not that we've ever had to do that. We're both, we're both wildly, happily, and fantastically married and all of that. But man, we always say, all these guys, when the temptation comes up, have the discipline. Just go home, man. You made a commitment. You talk about commitment all freaking day. Go home. And then also you can read the excerpt from Saban's book about who you might choose to have liaisons with and all
if
of
you're
that.
not going to.
Which is a pretty funny thing. I'm not going
Rece,
to go
are
down
you trying to put
The
my
Hillary
scandal
Clinton
beat?
theory?
Yes,
You trying to put me out of business, Rece? What am I going to write about if they just go home? I mean, come on, man.
I don't want them to go home, Dan.
I thought we were
I
friends.
want
thought we
people
were
to
on the
do the
same-
right thing.
Well, the right thing isn't always great for old me. Okay, I appreciate maybe a little bit of. No, take care of your family.
Just a little help.
Yeah.
Oh man, go home, guys.
I gotta knock out the mortgage too here, Rece.
You may be amused to know I just got a Twitter alert and I didn't recognize it. And I was like, what's Pittsfield Township? Well, I put my Twitter alerts for Pittsfield Township on in case they were like releasing information about like the next steps in, PR releases.
What'd you get?
Detainment. No. Well, as a reminder, the ride does not operate service on Christmas or New Year's Day. Learn more about Flex Ride late night and holiday service options. So if you're in Pittsfield Township, there's ways to get home. Please don't drink and drive.
So if you're in Pittsfield Township and you're mesmerized by someone who is not your significant other, Pittsfield Township, they've got your back. They're trying to keep you out of trouble.
Yeah, they were trying to get you home.
Ride share, get yourself home.
Yeah.
Start over the next day.
Very professional operation out
mind.
there.
And if you, and if you do stray, and I'm not speaking about anyone specifically because these are all allegations at this point, but if you do stumble and fall, as people dating back to King David have done, if you do stumble and fall, don't go to her place. Don't do it. Don't do it. Go get yourself a quiet NFL job as an analyst, 3 or 4 years, rehab the image. You get a chance. Maybe things in your personal life will line up as well. Don't do it.
Should we break down these playoff games?
That was just to say, let's start right here. Let's start with the playoff game, the one that's going to be watched, as Dan talked about, with probably some conflicting interest for Michigan fans if they still have hope, which I have shot down, and Michigan is waiting with bated breath to be able to clip off that little portion of the internet with me. But either way, Alabama and Oklahoma. Oklahoma has had Alabama's number, Pete, and they just have. They spanked them last year. Historically, they have. Save that Kyler Murray to a playoff game. Oklahoma has had its way with Alabama historically and recently. Crimson Tide largely controlled the game when they met in the regular season, but Oklahoma made every big play. I went back and looked. Oklahoma, I don't think, had a scoring drive longer than 41 yards, and that was a field goal against Alabama in the first meeting. Alabama had 3 long touchdown drives, but Oklahoma made every clutch play. Both teams, do you know what this is? This is for the people who love the metrics for the committee, this is the metrics game. This is the strength of schedule game. This is the strength of record game. This is the who did you play, who did you beat game. This is not the eye test game. Now, both defenses have been pretty good, but both offenses have sputtered, to put it kindly. But these are the two teams who put together the resumes, and they meet in Norman. What do you think about what's the big key, and then who are you gonna pick to win the thing?
So I think the big key is really simple. Can Alabama run the ball? They have not run the ball well this year. Jam Miller did play in this game earlier in this season in Tuscaloosa. Alabama's 8-1 with Jam Miller playing. He had 9 carries for 27 yards. Armace Thomas did not play in this game. Am I right about that, Rece? Is my memory
That's correct?
Yeah,
that is correct. Yes.
And so if Alabama cannot run the ball, they are not going to win this game. And this Alabama, for all the talent they have on their offensive line, this has just not been a good Alabama rushing team. Miller's had some moments. They are much better with him in the game. He's much more dynamic than their other backs, but they need to be able to run the ball to win this game on the road. I think Alabama, with Cuevas back, with Miller back, with Camp Dewberry back, is a bit of a different team on offense. Those are 3 really key starters that are expected to return to play. And I just think, do they have the fortitude and the patience, right? There's one thing about Ryan Grubb. I don't know how patient of a play caller he is. He's a great play caller. I don't know how patient he is. So it will be interesting to see against a top 5 rush defense. And this is an elite Oklahoma defense, an elite Oklahoma front 7. Can Alabama, at the point of attack, make some hay. And I think that's where this game will ultimately be won.
So, I would agree with that, and I'll just add a little bit to it. If you can run the ball, if Alabama can run the ball, they can then limit the possessions of Oklahoma. And normally you want to do that when you have a high-powered offense, right? We got to keep that offense off the field. I also just think if you can just limit the number of times Oklahoma has the ball, because they are going to struggle to score. Can Oklahoma just score? That would be the secondary key to me. The OU defense is without question the power dynamic in this entire game, but they have to get some points. They beat Missouri and LSU with 17 points in each game. They beat Alabama with 23 despite, I think, 3 turnovers. But if you can limit the number of even chances they have, what's the likelihood they're going to convert at a high percentage in scoring points? So running the ball and trying to keep that OU offense down, because I don't think they're going to get much, but they're still going to need 20, 17, 20, 24 points like that. They're still going to have to score. I think Alabama will get something. That would be the key. Can Alabama control the game on offense to keep Oklahoma's offense from really even having a chance and get any kind of rhythm? Because that has been a struggle for the Sooners.
That's what Alabama has done well for the most part, is control the ball, time of possession. They held it well over 34 minutes in the first game between these two, and they've had a lot of long time-consuming drives with controlled passing attack. I don't think they have to run it effectively against Oklahoma, just enough.
That's fair.
Just enough to keep them from teeing off. I think a bigger deal is, can they hit some explosive plays? That's been the odd thing about Alabama's offense, is they haven't hit a lot of explosives. They've missed some. They've had opportunities. Can Simpson not miss those? I think the flip side is Oklahoma has sputtered to move, but like in the LSU game, and a couple of times they've hit a couple, and with Mateer being able to create something out of nothing. He didn't have a lot of running room against Alabama last time, but he did have, I think a 20-yard touchdown run. I think that's a big key for them. Alabama's defense has given up some explosives. I think explosive plays and turnovers are the two biggest things. Who can hit one and can both take care of the ball? Oklahoma's defense has been terrific of late, of creating turnovers. He really got things going against Alabama. And, I think that's a huge, huge key to the game. That and the help, the Alabama offensive line has been a problem, which surprisingly, they've given up a ton of pressures. They can't block for the run. Running backs haven't been effective, but can they run it just enough? And can Simpson not miss opportunities for big plays? And now how healthy is he? So Pete, who have you got? Who's going to win the game?
I'm going to take the Tide on the road. I feel like a healthy Tide, and I like Kalen DeBoer in a big game. I feel like he has great feel in a big game. I think he is a calculated risk taker. He's fun to watch in a big game, right? And I really think that this is a moment he's going to go seize. So I take that. They can't have Ryan Williams hurt them. That's the one thing that's going to be a dynamic here. Like, he needs to catch the passes to him, and he needs to break a play or two. But I think with fortified, healthy, and Ryan Williams, the best version of himself, Alabama can pull an upset, close, low-scoring game.
I'm going to take Oklahoma. I'll say defense wins championships, and I'll go with the OU defense. But there's a lot of paths to victory for Alabama, so I think it's going to be a good game. Very close. I agree. Close, low scoring, defense. Every possession matters. A lot of important fourth down calls, field goal, touchdown, that type of stuff. But I'll take OU.
I'm going to take OU also, and I think one of the big differences is special teams. Oklahoma's field goal kicker, Tate Sandel's been terrific. Alabama's just been okay there. Alabama had Ryan Williams, speaking of him, had a big mistake and a turnover that, gave Oklahoma great field position in the first game. So the special teams, better for Oklahoma. Propensity for turnovers, home field, and the fact right now, Oklahoma's just kind of got Alabama's number. So I'm gonna say the Sooners win a close game. And after that, Kalen DeBoer sets forth with a highly ranked recruiting class to move in next year and will return to the playoff next year with Alabama, not with Michigan. Might as well double down on things like that, right? The other, the next playoff game and the other site for College Game Day will be Saturday morning, College Station, Texas. Miami coming in some quarters somewhat controversially, getting into the playoff with the flip against Notre Dame, the whole situation where they didn't make the ACC championship game and salvaging their way and getting the benefit of the doubt at the expense of Notre Dame, the team that they beat. But here's Miami now, I would imagine with a bit of a chip on its shoulder with first-round draft picks on the defensive line. Texas A&M's got a great pass rush, too. If you like people who get after the quarterback, this is your game. With Cassius Howell, Reuben Bain, Akeem Mesidor, so many stars, great receivers on both sides. Malachi Toney's probably, not probably, I think he is the best freshman in the country. And then on Texas A&M side, you got the two transfers in KC Concepcion and Mario Craver, and Marcel Reed's been great. This is a high-level playoff game for a 7 versus 10 matchup and a tough draw for the Aggies and a tough break that they're seated behind Ole Miss for the next game that we have. But Dan, this is a huge, this feels like a semifinal type game, despite the fact that Miami's the 10 seed. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think, look, this playoff field has been, a lot of things happened. Pete and I talked about it after that kind of messed up the playoff field. Namely, Notre Dame's not in this thing, and we have 2 group of 5s. But we are getting 2 very good games in the first round, and this one is terrific. Like you said, if this had been a semifinal, would not have been surprised if some things had broken differently. I want to know what Texas A&M's program is, and I think this is the statement for that. This has been a magical year for them. Obviously 11-1. They roll through the season, but they come up against, at the end, they need a massive comeback to beat South Carolina, and then they get beat up at Texas, and their rival. And I imagine it was an extremely humbling, extremely disappointing, and extremely, kind of gut check decision here. What is this Aggie team? Because if they come out and beat Miami, it's going to be wild down there at Texas A&M in Kyle Field. This has the highest, even though Kyle Field is massive, this has the highest resale value ticket in the playoff, $363. It's not surprising, it's the best game, but Miami does not have a huge fan base like that. This is the highest. You actually want to know the highest playoff game, a college football game price this weekend is the Montana State game, $657 is the average price.
Wow.
Yeah. Crushing the FBS playoffs is the
what does it
Brawl of
seat
the
there,
Wild
like
2.
20,000? We don't know.
I don't know.
Where is it? Is it in Bozeman or is it in
It's in Bozeman. It's in Bozeman. Now, they played already, and Montana State won, so they have the home field. But yeah, that game is that was at Mizzou. But yeah, this is the semifinals of the that thing. That's on Sunday on ABC, ESPN Family Network. So if you want to
there you go, Dan. You're catching on.
Listen, Mr. Magnus, I'm just trying to help out here. I'm going to watch. I mean, that's I'm hijacking the conversation, but I mean, is there really, if you like college football and you sit there and go, I'm not interested in Montana State in a semifinal. Like, you don't have to know anything about this. It's called the Brawl of the Wild. I mean, come on. One of the great names of all time. This is fantastic. I don't care if it's FCS football, right? You watch so your team can pluck all the players for next year. One of them will win the Heisman probably. Anyway, I want to know what the Aggie program is right now. I think this is a put up, show up, let's go. Mike Elko, I believe in what he's done. I thought this team was terrific all year. They did not face that competition. And now you either win this game and step up, or it's like, see, we told you it was easy competition. They faded at the end. That to me is the really interesting storyline on here.
So Montana State, we learned this when we went to Bozeman. Rece may remember that the local kid from the state of Montana, who's the toughest hombre on the team, gets number 41 because Montana is the 41st state. So every year they say, you are the biggest, you're the baddest man on this team. You are going to be number 41. And I just loved that. I just thought that was like perfect for the Brawl of the Wild. I'm going to take 41st State. So they give him number 41. Yeah. Making 41 sexy again. I'm going to take Texas A&M in this game. I think it's going to be an excellent game. I love the matchup. I love the talent. I can't wait to be outside Kyle Field on Saturday morning for game day and just feeling the energy and the vibe there. This is a program that's like waited for this moment for decades. And I don't think Miami can overcome the talent disparity. I don't think they can overcome the environment. And I think Texas A&M will find a way to win in advance.
Dan, who'd you take?
Oh, I will take. I'm going to take Miami. I should have said it. I'm going to take Miami.
No,
I said
okay.
all that.
You are,
I'm going to take Miami.
Yeah.
Bobcat State. I'm more into Call of the Wild here, whatever this thing. Call of the Wild. 20,767 at Bobcat Stadium. But they once squeezed in earlier this year. Actually, they squeezed in 22,227. I'm guessing that's going over the top. So I'm going to take Miami in this game. But I want to see what A&M can prove me 100% wrong by showing what the program I think is going to be under Mike Elko. Are you there right now?
Yeah, I think it's a great point. By the way, Dan, I was at the Brawl of the Wild when we were there a couple of years ago. Stayed for the game. The rodeo team leads them out riding horses out. They run out in horses. You should experience that at some point. Tom Wistrcill, the commissioner of the Big Sky, will welcome you with open arms. Might even take you on an elk hunt before.
They once played our old podcast in the stadium before in the pregame because we dared someone to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
They probably didn't have 20,000 that day. Drove a few thousand home.
There was like 12 people there at the time. It was like 2 hours. Still, we needed all the help we could get. So didn't Coastal Carolina, by the way. Anyway, go ahead. I'm killing this segment. Totally killed it.
No, that's okay. It's great, actually. I really enjoy it. I'm going to take the Bobcats, first of all, most importantly. And I'm also going to take the Hurricanes. I think that this will
Miami's, huh?
The home teams won every one of the playoff games last year. I believe that Miami will be the first team to win on the road. Am I scared of this pick? You bet I am. Miami in a big game. I mean, I really like Mario Cristobal, but they've created ways to come up short in situations like this historically. It bothers me. A&M also too, historically. So I think it's a great point you made, Dan, about what's your program? Are you elite? Are you able to win? Now, somebody's going to take a step forward, but is this going to be one of those games that somebody actually steps forward? Is this going to be a dumb loses more than smart wins? I think it'll be a great game. I'm going to take Miami slightest of edge. I think the difference will be that defensive front will be able to contain Marcel Reed from not shut him down, but keep him from destroying them. Keep him from, running 60 yards on a broken play. I think they will keep him from destroying them and then make him beat them from the pocket. And I'm going to give the edge to Miami. I'm going to say they win. The fascinating game in Oxford as Pete Golding's first game as a head coach. I think Pete got a new haircut for a photograph too. It looked like based on what I saw.
Act, the headman,
clean thing up from defensive coordinator to the head coach. Yeah, now they go and they welcome in Tulane, a team they've already throttled, a team whose head coach is on its way to Florida, a team the contrasting styles in the way that the former or soon-to-be former head coaches handled their exits. Lane Kiffin with all the messiness that came with that. And then John Sumrall's giving like $100,000 to Tulane's NIL on the way out the door. I think Ole Miss is too much for Tulane. They've shown that once. I think it's going to play out again despite all of the turmoil. What do you think, Pete?
Yeah, so I don't think this game will be as lopsided as the first game was. Honestly, I just think Tulane's gotten a lot better as the year's gone on. Since they laid that dinosaur egg in San Antonio sometime around mid-October, they've really played well and shown some fight. It'll be an interesting test for Ole Miss. There's been a lot going on, right? And you have coaches coming in and out. You've got a lot of tumult happened there. So, look, Ole Miss is much better. They've shown they're much better. The line's like what, 17.5, something like that? Is that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think Ole Miss is going to win, but I think Tulane keeps it closer than the blowout in the first game.
Well, I would expect Ole Miss to win. Tulane has gotten a lot better, and it's a really good team. And the American was a real battle to get through that. So this is a good team. This is a good group of 5 representative to me. But we have seen this game. There's too much talent at Ole Miss. I also think that this is going to be a day for Ole Miss fans, and they always call themselves nations, right? Everyone's a nation now, Rebel Nation or whatever.
Why is that?
Lane leaving put them in all sorts of, they were in their feelings a little bit, understandably. This is a chance, like a rally almost, to sit there and say, hey, we're still here. We're really excited. I mean, this is a huge moment for this program. They are hosting a playoff game, a program at Ole Miss that has not had anything like that, has rarely been involved in the true national contention. I think this is going to be a very, very fired up, emotional in a positive way, almost like a pep rally kind of day in Oxford, and say, look, we don't need Lane Kiffin. Forget it. We all we got, we all we need. And they're gonna go out and show that and play with that emotion against a pretty good Tulane team. So I'll take Ole Miss because of that, and in a big scene and a deserved one for Rebel fans who really got the, may or may not. We'll see how it plays out. Got the rug pulled out from underneath them on this season when Lane Kiffin left.
I'm taking Ole Miss too. I think Ole Miss wins decisively. Ole Miss has had far much more turmoil than Tulane, but Tulane's had its share change as well. With everything going on and with Summerall, holding down the fort 2 places. I'm going to say the talent wins out. Golden gets his first win. But as my friend Jay Billis likes to say, I am going to take it a negative town for just a second. What if Tulane wins? If Tulane wins, that's an existential crisis for Ole Miss, because immediately Golding's on the hot seat. Immediately. I know Keith Carter would say otherwise, but if Ole Miss loses this game after having beaten Tulane by 35 points earlier, SEC versus American, home field versus road team, new coach that everybody in the stadium is behind and happy about versus coach on his way out the door. If they lose, there will be the outcry. Panic hire, wrong man for the job, not a long-term, what are we going to do next? And the mountain is going to be gargantuan for Pete Golding. So it's a playoff game. There are plenty of stakes involved just by virtue of the fact that, oh, by the way, for all of this stuff going on, Ole Miss is trying to win the national championship. I guess theoretically, so is Tulane, but Ole Miss is trying to win the national championship, okay? You lose this game, it comes at a catastrophic price. So a lot of pressure if this game is close. If this game gets close late, a lot of pressure on the Rebels. I don't think it'll be close. I think Ole Miss wins. Not as badly as it did the first time. I agree with that. I think I don't play games of chance. I think it hovers right around where the line is, which at last check was like 17.5. And then the most entertaining build-up to any of the playoff games up to this point has been the James Madison, I think it's called JMU News or something, one of those X accounts that has just been trolling Oregon by making fun of themselves in a lot of ways about this perceived mismatch. This is a 3-touchdown favorite for Oregon. They're pulling like the slow motion clips that Oregon social media people have posted, and they're playing them and saying, this might be the slowest team I've ever seen. And posting things like, despite all of the pregame rhetoric, I don't think JMU should overlook this scrappy Duck team. So James Madison's been having a lot of fun with their moment in the spotlight here, Pete. But can they do a little bit more against this Duck team? You saw a little early on, you saw some pressure in JMU's conference championship game a little bit. They eventually took care of business. Some playing a little bit tight. I think they'd be a little bit looser this time, but I think Oregon's just probably overwhelming against them. I think it's too much, right?
Yeah, hard to see a lot of paths for victory for James Madison in this. Love Alonzo Barnett. They have had an iconic season considering they were an FCS program, what, 5 years ago?
Yeah, I think
No,
so.
'cause
They
it
were,
was
and remember
yeah.
I don't even know if it was that
No,
long.
it's
They were
4.
lobbying to get into
Yeah.
a bowl game, trying to get
Yes.
the exemption
Yes.
from the
No,
NCAA.
that was a huge storyline when we went
Yeah.
down there for College Game Day. Was that 2 seasons ago? It was SIG, yeah, so it was 3 seasons
Yeah.
ago 'cause
Yeah.
SIG's been there 2 years, so SIG's
Right.
last year there. So, I mean, the ascent has been remarkable, chef's kiss to everybody there, man. What an environment, what a place, what a climb. Chesney's done an unbelievable job. I don't see it on, Saturday night. I just don't see it.
Yeah, great moment. Great moment for the school, which is a proud school, and I love the attention. It's a great place to go to school, and the fans are fired up, and it's awesome. But there's a 116 element of like college basketball to it, and
Good call.
it's really hard to win at Oregon if you're anybody. It's it's particularly hard when you're coming out of that level of football. So obviously, you take Oregon to win this game, but have fun. And one thing I know about James Madison fans, they have fun.
Oh, yeah.
They will win the tailgate or the party that they have at their house. They will have a good time. Just it'll be good. But Oregon's gonna win this game.
Yeah, I'm friends with a James Madison alumnus, and I told him, I said, it would be altogether fitting if you just made your way out there just to experience the moment right here. The account that I was referencing earlier was at JMU Sports News. Here's an example of the post. The, in quotations, massive talent gap between JMU and Oregon is overblown. We've been grinding tape, and the Ducks are actually a lot better than people are saying. It would not surprise us one bit if Oregon kept it close in the first half. JMU cannot overlook this feisty Oregon bunch, it says. And then there's another one in which there's a high-angle practice video shot of like one of those end of practice drills you do, where you put two of the big uglies out on the outside and they go one-on-one and you throw one of them a pass in the end zone. So they show that. The guy makes the catch, one of the big linemen makes the catch in there, and it says, Oregon will not have an answer for this, period. It's going to be fun while it lasted. And Bob Chesney will get a little welcome to Big Ten life, and I think Oregon rolls, and probably by a big enough number, which will then set us up into the quarterfinals with no massive upsets, because I don't know, at least in my judgment, I don't think Miami beating A&M would be anything more than a mild upset by the road team winning. So a lot of home chalk, I think, coming up. Although Alabama, Oklahoma's pretty locked in, one way or the other. What would be, as we wrap this up? I have one closing thing to say about the Heisman, but before we wrap this up, what would be the most surprise? Let's take James Madison over Oregon off the board. That would be, obviously that would be the most surprising thing that we could comprehend from the first round. What would be the most surprising thing that could happen in the first round to you, Pete? Whether it's upset, whether it's performance, whatever it might be. What would be the most surprising thing to you?
I would be pretty surprised if Miami went into A&M and planted the flag there. I just think, like, they went to SMU, laid an egg. Now I know they were pretty banged up in that game. That came up in their playoff case. But I just think for Carson Beck and that program to go into that environment and win there would really surprise me.
Dan, anything you can think of that would really shock you?
I would say Tulane winning would be it, but I guess the big thing would be an offensive explosion by Alabama. Let's say if Alabama, put up 35, 38, 42 points on the OU defense, that would be. I wouldn't expect that. I feel like Oklahoma, you're going to beat Oklahoma, and it's probably someone will in this playoff. You're not going to do it with a huge number. So that would be surprising to me.
Yeah, I would probably concur. Style of game in that one, instead of it being, 17-13, it turning into, 34-31, I think would be the biggest surprise. Heisman gets a lot of talk, and I don't want to wrap this up by piling on Diego Pavia, because he apologized for his post-Heisman behavior. and understandably so. I didn't feel like he owed the voters an apology and say what he wants to them as a voter. I saw some people who took umbrage with that. I did not. He could say what he wants. But the one thing that his behavior, even with the apology included and accepted, did for me, it made me regret my Heisman vote. I voted for Diego Pavia because I know what the history of Vanderbilt is. I thought he was the most dynamic player. I am predisposed in Heisman voting to vote for guys who create wow moments. I voted for Reggie Bush twice. Matt Leinart, great player, deserving winner. I voted for Reggie Bush both times. I'm inclined to vote for guys who have the Desmond Howard moment, the Johnny Manziel moments, I guess, to draw a parallel to Diego. But it wasn't his response to the voters that bugged me. It was the way the response then went toward Fernando Mendoza, if and only in a way that Fernando caught a stray. There's nobody that I've run across in the last several years in college football that carries himself with more class and more dignity and more character than Fernando Mendoza. He looks you in the eye when he talks to you. He references previous conversations with you. He acts like a man of character and class. Diego Pavia didn't, and he apologized for it. I accept that, but I voted for the Heisman for 20-something years. I've only regretted my vote 2 times. One time it was because of on the field, and I was unfair in my judgment toward a person. In my effort to be fair, I ended up being unfair to the person I should have voted for. This one was different. I regretted the vote because after Pavia's behavior in the aftermath, I was like, man, I'm glad he didn't win. I'm glad he didn't win. That's not the way you should feel about a player that's as great as Pavia is on the field. I am delighted that Mendoza won because he will represent the Heisman in the way that I think it should be represented. And I don't know if Pavia has learned anything from the response and the backlash from his reaction to losing. I get it. It's disappointing, man. It's close to the Heisman. Always wanted to win it. I get it. Got to suck it up sometimes, man. Every now and then in life, you got to wear a fastball in the ribs. Too bad. And he couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. And it made me regret the fact that I had him atop my Heisman ballot. The right guy won, and I'm glad he won. And I don't mean this in mean-spirited way. I wish Diego well. I do. But I was so put off by the response, not because of the thing to the voters, but because of the way it came across toward the guy who actually won it. Got to show a little class, man. You got to lose with humility. Winning's easy. It's always easy to win. We dance around, we celebrate, we jump up and down, we smile a lot, right? Losing, that's when you find out what kind of person you are. How do you react when you lose? He should be better. I hope he learned a lesson. Great player, Unbelievable player. And the biggest reason I voted for him was on the field, the impact he had as a player, and a lot of that swagger and attitude is the reason they won. I get that, but there's a line to everything. Don't need to cross it. And he didn't just cross it. He ran way across it. Right guy won. I'm delighted for Fernando Mendoza and can't wait to watch him play in the Rose Bowl. Guys, it's been fun. We'll talk after the first round of the playoffs. Thanks for listening to the College Game Day podcast. Download wherever you prefer to get your podcast or subscribe and never miss a single episode. And stay tuned in and get the notifications from Pittsfield Township if you need a ride home.